Deep Threat Sports Network, welcome back. We're here with another great episode. And as you see again, we have the quad box going again tonight. Things are looking up for Deep Threat Sports Network. This college football show is kicking on all cylinders. Looks like four cylinders here. But tonight we have something special. We kind of threw a curveball because it's going to take some time. If you really break it down, we have four power conferences that we're going to break down win totals for. We're going to read all these odds from DraftKings Sportsbook. And that was as of today, May 21st, for these ACC win total odds. We're going to start with just one part because there's so many teams in these conferences now. So how it kind of breaks down is we'll do the ACC part one, part two, Big 12 part one, part two, Big 10 part one, part two, SEC part one, part two. Notre Dame will fall with the ACC, seeing how it feels like they play an ACC heavy schedule. But before we dive into this thing too much, fellas, how we doing? You guys ready to get this thing rolling? This is one of my favorite things to do is talk anything to do with betting, and I feel like our fans out there love these kind of episodes the most. So how we doing, gentlemen?
Hey, doing well, doing well.
Doing good, man. Our favorite segment was the book it segment, so this is kind of a little sneak peek for that.
Knowing you kind of ready to kick things off with us on the betting aspect. Hey, the book it segment was hot last year, so we got to keep the odds rolling, baby.
I'm new to all the sports betting stuff, so I had to look some different stuff up today on what some of these odds mean. But yeah, I think I'm ready.
Hey, as long as you have a comfortable, persuasive pick, people are going to fall in line with it. Odds aside, as long as you can persuade me, I'll fall in line with you too as well. So this is going to be a fairly long episode, so let's get right into this real quick. We're going to kick things off right away with the old ACC powerhouse, Boston College. Their over/under win total this season is 5.5. The over/under is dead even. One -110 on the over, -110 on the under. Let's not forget we got Bill O'Brien there. Did a pretty damn good job his first season there. Got him to 7 wins last season. Not a lot of us saw that coming. I know I wasn't one of them. Had some big guys leave. We had Thomas Castellanos transfer out, lost their quarterback. Have Grayson James coming in at quarterback this year, and they got a running back by the name of Turbo Richard. With a name like that, I mean, I don't see how you could not like this team. Turbo Dick, I love that. That's incredible. So, Bryant, go ahead and take us off with Boston College. What are you seeing here on this over under? Which direction are you headed?
I'm going to lean the over by one game. I got them winning 6 games. They got a big time transfer wide receiver in VJ Wilkins. And honestly, I know with Turbo, Turbo's a great name, but I still think besides the fact that his name is so good, they have a good running game. I think they have one of the better running attacks in this conference. And I trust Bill O'Brien. I watched them in person play Mizzou last year, and they were one of the more prepared teams I think I saw Missouri play last season on both sides of the football. I don't think that will change. So that's going to allow them to sneak a few wins out. They may not. Be favored to win. Like I said, they may struggle. They lost a lot of guys in the transfer portal, like Castellanos, like you mentioned, but especially on the defensive side of the ball, and didn't have quite as many transfers coming in of that caliber. So that could play an effect on their season. But I got them over at 6. They have a few pretty easy games, I feel like. And their schedule's not overly drastically hard compared to some of these other teams I feel like we're going to talk about later on in the show. So I got them at 6 wins.
Yeah, hey, I don't. You may find I disagree with that, but I'll come back to me in a second. Dave, Nolan, either one of you got a take on the over under as well?
I'm gonna go the over, just simply because um, O'Brien had a good season last year, and I feel like you only build off of that. And again, I don't think their schedule is nothing too crazy. Again, last year we didn't think they would get to 7 wins, and there they are. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over.
Nolan, what about you?
Under. I got a few reasons for it. First of all, they're bye weeks. I don't know if you guys looked into this or not. They have a bye week in week 3, and then they have a bye week in week 11. They go 8 straight in a row. They're a physical team, so they're going to be beat up by the time 6, 7, 8 rolls around. Who's to say they don't have a few key injuries? And then their schedule, it might not be the toughest, but at the same time, based on the talent level they got out of the portal and out of high school recruiting, I think a lot of these games are coin flips, and I mean it can go one way or the other. I'm taking it as a loss for them. Like you guys said, it's a positive. Bill O'Brien, he's he's a good coach. He's got everybody prepared and really surprised people last year, and I think he's one of the big reasons. But I can't get over that schedule. That's got to be the worst bye weeks I've seen. Week 3 and week 11 is rough.
Yeah, hey, I totally agree with you for everything you said, Nolan. I'm also going to be on the under on this, and I'm actually under by about 2 games. I look at their schedule and how I kind of go through these things for me. I make sure I don't overlap teams, make sure I don't have a team beating another team that they already have beating somewhere else. So I kind of went through this. I only have them down for 3 sure wins, and that's against Fordham, Stanford, and UConn. Those are 3 surefire wins I feel for them. I did have them down for 3 swing games. I gave them the nod against Cal, but I did not give them the nod against Michigan State and Pitt. And the rest of the schedule kind of speaks for itself. I think the only other game they may have a chance in is Syracuse. So I do agree with Bryant and Dave. Bill O'Brien, I mean, is a good coach, well prepared. Let's not forget at one point in time last year, early in the season, they looked like to be a surefire thing in the ACC, and they were a ranked team at one point in time, and they gave Mizzou a damn good football game and honestly could have won that game. So I do like what they're building off of. I don't really love all the talent acquisition that they made. I don't really love that they're losing their quarterback, who I thought was probably the best part of their team last year for most of the season. So I am going to go under 5.5. And for me, it's comfortable. I kind of went back in myself a little bit when Bryant was talking, but I'm pretty comfortable in this. I'm going to stay on this. I have them under 5.5 comfortably. Anything else on Boston College before we move on to North Carolina?
I think the only thing that I can think of that they can get to that over, some of these games, the end of the year that they play, they're cold. It's miserable out there in BC. A team comes in and they're not used to that weather. You got to give them the edge. Even if it's a 3-point swing one way or the other, you got to think they're able to maybe pull it out. And that's the only way I can see them getting to that over.
Yeah, they play Georgia Tech on November 15th at home. That's a game that you're probably referring to there, where if Georgia Tech's a little beat up, I mean, they're pretty one dimensional, I feel like, on that Georgia Tech team. They could maybe squeak that one. But when I still break this down, I still have them at only 5 wins at that point. So, I just don't think they quite get there this season. But hey, maybe they do, and they keep things going in the right direction for Boston College. Moving on to the next team that we have on our list is North Carolina. The over under for North Carolina is 7.5. The over sitting at plus 110. The under at minus 130 being the favorite. Couple things here on North Carolina. Had 6 wins last season. They move on from their coach and they hire Bill Belichick. I'm sure anybody out there that follows anything college football related knows there's a lot of drama going around with the Belichick scandal and his woman. It's kind of a roller
Hey,
coaster
they're
of events
engaged now.
there.
They're engaged now.
Hey, that may be, but it's still a roller coaster, and not quite sure what to think about that. I'm sure some of the players are probably a little sideways about that too. They lose on Marion Hampton to the draft. That was the best part of their team last year. They bring in Gio Lopez from South Alabama to be the quarterback this year. They did have the ninth ranked portal class per 247. Just a lot of drama around this team. So, Nolan, why don't you go ahead and take this over and tell me which direction you're leaning for the over under 7.5 wins this season?
I got them under again. Same way. You guys will find out throughout these 2 episodes on the ACC. I'm a Florida State guy, but I think the ACC is going to be a little rough this year. North Carolina, I got them under their win total at 7.5, namely head coach. I'm not sure. Coaching those 17, 18, 19, 20-year olds, I don't know if that's his thing. Get the professionals in there. Yeah, they're there 8 to 8 every day, sure. But these kids got other things on their mind. So I can't see them getting to that 7.5, 8 range.
Dave Bryant, what do you guys got?
Man, I got them under as well. I mean, yes, like they've got Charlotte and Richmond, which are like they should win by a long shot. Virginia they'll probably win. Stanford they'll probably win. Wake Forest, it's at Wake Forest. Anything can happen there. I don't think Wake Forest has much talent per se, but Duke's one of those teams that you can show up and they will beat you on any given day. They're not amazing, but they could potentially beat you. And then TCU, I think they'll lose. UCF, I think they'll lose. Clemson, Dabo Swinney's
I
got to
think
figure it out.
I think that TCU game's a big swing game for them, like right
That's
out
the
of the
first
gate.
one. That's right off the bat,
Yeah,
right?
I think that game kind of sets the tone for whether this thing can go in a good direction or kind of start off bad. But to your point, they bounce back right after that, and they played Charlotte and Richmond. Those are two gimmies. Those are two layups. They should definitely win those. So kind of like I said a second ago, I had surefire wins at Charlotte, Richmond, Stanford. I had swing games against TCU, Duke, NC State. I had the slight edge on UCF, Cal, Virginia, Wake Forest. So for me, that leans me to take the over, not by much. I do have down 4 swing games on this schedule. I gave them the nod against TCU, due to it being a home game, starting things out. I do think the atmosphere will be pretty electric with the Bill Belichick stuff going on. I think the place will be packed. But at the end of this schedule on the back half, I did not give them the nod against Duke or NC State. So I'm coming in right above the over 7.5 at 8 wins. Don't love this one at all. This could go down in flames very, very early. So don't love this one. This will not be on my best bet sheet before the season starts. I'm just taking the over as of now. Bryant, where do you fall on this?
As this doesn't really make sense to me. I'm vastly different from you guys. I have them over at 10 wins. This is one of the more talented rosters in this conference. They didn't hardly lose anybody, and they brought in a top 10 portal class. Bill Belichick has dealt with drama in the past. Yeah, I was with professionals, but he knows how to coach through something like that. This team's going to be prepared. The only really guy they placed that was a massive loss from last year is Gio at quarterback. He was very good at Southern Alabama. This is the easiest schedule in the conference, in my opinion. I only have them losing to Clemson and NC State. Personally, this is a great defense as well. They were one of the top 5 in the conference last year and didn't hardly lose anybody. I don't know. I just think they're gonna. This is by far the easiest schedule. I think they win TCU because of this first game. It's gonna be super hype. Richmond's a cakewalk. Clemson, I have them as a loss. I don't believe at all in Virginia, so I gave them that game. Stanford is going to suck, in my opinion. And then Duke is a toss up. So there's 5 wins. Charlotte's easy. UCF, that's a swing game, but they lost a bunch of players. And Gus Malzahn is a good coach, but I don't know. That's not that far to travel, and it's early on in the season. I think they win that one.
Hey, you forget Malzahn's at Florida State now, brother.
That's right. Sorry, forgot about that.
They lost their head coach, lost their head man.
I forgot about Florida State.
And then Cal, I think Cal's going to be one of the worst teams in this conference. Syracuse, I had them winning that game just because Syracuse also lost a lot. And then Wake Forest, I just don't really see a whole lot of them either. So, I mean, their only losses are NC State and Clemson. Personally, I think this is a slam dunk over. I don't know. That's just me.
I honestly don't hate it. I don't hate your outlook on this. I just don't love it only because I feel like a lot could go wrong. That's the only reason I don't feel comfortable saying let's bet this one. But yeah, I do have them in that 8.5 range. So at that point, that puts them a game over the win total. So I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, and to your point, they could really soar. They really could. I do believe with you that they will be well prepared. That's one thing that Belichick does. His son's also the defensive coordinator. Did very good every stop he's made as a defensive coordinator. I do get nervous about the O'Marion Hampton loss. I feel like he was the real damn deal, the best backs in the country. So I think that's a big one to replace. But yeah, Gio Lopez did good last year at South Alabama. I do think he will do okay here. I do think Belichick will give him the best chance to succeed. So I don't love it. We're kind of indifferent, all 4 of us on this. So that should kind of tell you out there, maybe don't take this one. But hey, Bryant says it's a slam dunk. I trust in Brian. I'm going to ride with you, like I already said on the over. So go UNC, go Belichick. Also, Belichick and Bill O'Brien in the same college conference. If you would have told me that 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I'd have called everybody in this group a liar. I mean, I just still can't believe we're talking about that.
Very weird.
So moving on to the next team we're going to talk about, should be one of the best teams in the ACC. I know no one has a lot to say about this. We'll let him take it first, but we have Miami, and their over-under is at 9.5 right now as it sits. The over is the underdog at plus 135, can make some money there. The under 9.5 is sitting at minus 160. This is a damn good team again, and that 10 wins last year, they did lose a ton. That offense did get decimated. They did lose the number 1 pick in the draft, Cam Ward. So, I mean, and tough guy to replace. They did backfill it with Carson Beck. Anxious to see how that works out. We do have the Mario Cristobal effect here. He's going to lose 1 or 2 games he shouldn't lose. And you lose a good running back in Damian Martinez. You backfill with Mark Fletcher. They do have probably the best front 7 defense in the ACC. They have a top-ranked offensive line, a top 3 portal class. This is a really, really good team, fellas. So no one go ahead and take this over first and give us your unbiased opinion on Miami Hurricanes.
It won't be unbiased, I can tell you that. But as much as it pains me to say, I have to take the over on Miami based on how bad the rest of the ACC I project to be. Really looking at their schedule, the only two that you can tell me straight up, Notre Dame and Florida, is their losses. You can get me a coin flip at SMU, sure, but SMU lost a lot from last year too. So who's to say they're going to do the exact same as they did last year? That being said, Notre Dame, Florida are two of their first 4 weeks of the year. If they go 2-2 and this team just decides to quit, they could go way under. I told you guys earlier today, it almost reminds me of the 2023-2024 Florida State. Everything went so well for them to a point. Everything went so well for them last year. Best offense in college football, similar to Florida State. Defense sometimes felt like you were just putting people out there just to put people out there at points, but they really vamped it up this year. Their portal class was defense heavy. They have a brand new secondary, all four spots. I don't see them losing many games strictly because of how bad the ACC I project to be.
So to go with you real quick, Nolan, I had 4 coin flip games on this schedule. The rest are surefire wins, in my opinion. So right there, that gives them 8 wins the way I broke this down. And the 4 coin flip games were, yes, Notre Dame, Florida. I gave Louisville a coin flip game and SMU a coin flip game. Now, I looked at their schedule a little bit deeper. They play 4 away games. They play Florida State, who I don't think is going to be very good. Sorry, Nolan. They play SMU, who's not a tough place to play. They play Virginia Tech, who is a tough place to play, but nowhere near the caliber talent-wise. And they play Pitt, who's not good and not a tough place to play. Those are their 4 road games. Now, the Mario Cristobal effect comes into play a little bit on this. To your point, if they lose Notre Dame and Florida and they're 2-2 to kick things off, I can promise you Mario's going to drop a game elsewhere, somewhere that's only going to give them 9 wins. If they can somehow squeak the Notre Dame Florida game out and then clean sweep the rest of the way, if they can sweep one of those games and go the rest of the way, this to me feels like they really could get 10-2, maybe even 11-1. I don't think there's any chance for them to go 12-0. I do think they lose to Notre Dame or Florida 1. I think for me, if you can get plus 135 odds on this, I'm all in on the Miami over 9.5. I'm all in on Miami over 9.5 by at minimum a game. So I'm comfortably on the over with this.
I got I got the under by a couple games, and I had the same swing games you had, Colin, and I gave them all to the opponent. Um, SMU on the road. I think that that's the only game they lose on the road, but they could lose more. Honestly, I know that's not a tough schedule, but Miami struggled last year on the road, and they were a much better team than they are this year. I think it goes back to Mario Cristobal. I'm not a giant believer in Carson Beck either. I think he gets overhyped more than he actually shows out on the field, and I think that would be even worse at a place like Miami. I think he'll get caught in the spotlight. Maybe a little bit off the field. You never know with him. And then such vast turnover on both sides of the ball can be tough for any coach to handle. If they can somehow manage that and be better through that, then I think they have a chance to definitely go over or win more than 8 games than I have them. But I don't know. I just think this team's going to regress a little bit this year, and I think 8 wins is where I have them. I don't think they beat Notre Dame, Florida, or Louisville, and then I have them losing SMU on the road.
So, Dave, give your pick on the over under real quick, and I have a couple questions I want to ask. So, are you over or under on this, Dave? 9.5.
I'm going to go over. I do believe in Carson Beck. Not that I think he's amazing, but I think with him playing in the ACC, which is, this year isn't going to be that crazy good. I think he's going to put up big numbers, and his confidence is going to soar through the roof. His ego is going to be flying. So I think he will have a couple good, big games. So I think it's over. But again, I wouldn't be shocked if it went exactly how Brian predicts it. Also wouldn't be shocked because, again, like you said, Colin, it is Mario Cristobal. At the end of the day, he's going to drop a couple games that he shouldn't.
Go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say Carson Beck gets carried by the guys around him. He got carried by Brock Bowers and Lad McConkey, and it showed out last year. He didn't have the weapons outside. His really only receiver was Lovett, and he struggled, really, honestly. They leaned heavily on the run and on their defense to win games last year. Yeah, he played good, but many quarterbacks can win at Georgia. I just don't believe him as much. He doesn't have the weapons to ball out like I think people expect him to.
A couple things
With
on
you
this.
on offense, but defense, man, I don't
Yeah.
think like Louisville, I don't think they can block them. It's
No,
going
they
to
can't.
create havoc. There's going to be 8 sacks in a game, and if you're
Mhm.
dropping back 30 times and you get sacked 8, that's rough.
So do you
At
think
that
this
point, you're just
Miami
trying to get off the field.
you think this Miami team is like the opposite of last year's?
I think defense is going to be their strength this year.
Yes, they were. They could not go win a national championship last year because of their defense. They can truly go deep in a playoff run because of their defense this year. I know that's bold to say, but with all this Carson Beck talk, I have a couple things on this. One, Bryant, yes, he was nowhere near as good last year. It was evident. He had Lad McConkey and Brock Bowers, absolute weapons, and you see those guys showing out in the NFL. But let's not forget, Georgia was like one of the bottom 5 teams in drops last year. They
That's
could not
true.
catch a cold in the middle of December. So, I mean, it wasn't all on Carson Beck. Now, I also don't think Carson Beck's really all that good. But I'm telling you right now, I'm taking Carson Beck probably second at quarterbacks in the ACC, only right behind. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank on Clemson's quarterback, Cade Klubnik. That's the only guy I'm taking over Carson Beck in the ACC probably. And to go with what Nolan said about that defense, what other quarterback in this conference is going to pick apart Miami's defense? Like they're not going to allow other quarterbacks time. They're on their schedule. The best quarterback they probably play after DJ Lagway is honestly I don't know. I don't really have an answer for you. I guess if we look at
Miller Moss.
but was Miller Moss that great at USC? Like I liked Miller Moss and I think he
He had
showed
the
signs of
he had,
upside.
he had the case of the drops too, so
Yes,
it's
they
hard to
did.
tell.
I mean, maybe SMU's quarterback, what's his name? And he looked really bad in the playoffs, but he looked really good throughout the season. So I'm drawing a blank on his name, but like I just don't think there's
Jennings.
anybody's offense that could go score on this defense enough to outpace Miami's offense. Like, and I don't think they have to score more than 21 points a game, 20 points a game, and I think they're going to win a lot of these. So Mario Cristobal does scare me, but I took all these things into consideration. Everybody that listens to our show knows I can't stand him. He is the reason Miami, in my opinion, to this day, did not go win a national championship last year. So I don't know. I think they hit the over, but I can be persuaded maybe. Nolan, you look like you had something else on
Tough
this.
schedule as far as home games that are all their big opponents are at home though. So
That's
I
why
don't
I
know.
like it.
This one was a tough one to pick for me.
I think they have the biggest variance. I think that's why there's so much back and forth between us. If they go 2-2 to start the season and they quit, they could legit only win 6 games this year. But if they find a way to split the first 4 games, if they find a way to split between Florida and Notre Dame, or best case scenario, they win both. I mean, they could really go far. You always count on Mario Cristobal winning or losing one of the games that he's supposed to win, yes. But if they split those games or if they win both of them, they could really make a deep playoff run. And the defense again, one of their probably weakest players. I only really know this because I try and pay attention to Miami and Florida State as much as I can. One of their weakest players is a 4-star linebacker that's in his second year. And I mean, he's a good player. If he's their weakest player on defense, that really says something. I think they're going to be top 15, top 10 defense this year at the end of it.
Yeah, and like we're kind of chalking up this Notre Dame to be a loss. Fellas, I don't feel all that great about Notre Dame. I like a lot of their team. I'm a little nervous about their quarterback situation. I mean, Carr has to be really, really good. I mean, the line right now sitting on this game is Notre Dame's a favorite by 2.5 points. At that point, it feels to me pretty coin flippy. I can see Notre Dame getting beat by Miami to start the season off. I mean, they got a little bit of that championship hangover. You know, you came up short, hanging over a little bit, had a lot of changes on the team. The Miami, yeah, the variance is there. 6-6, 11-1. I mean, it is very much so there. So
This
Miami, a team to keep your eye on. I feel pretty good about them. I would feel
this
comfortable
game was
taking this.
this team heavy public on the under too. So
Yeah, it is.
in the
I
betting
mean,
world, that makes you want to take the over.
yeah. The public is heavy on the under, and I think it's just a lot of a lot of hate being thrown that way, and I get it. I mean, I'm driving that train, so I get it.
I'm up there
Moving
with you.
on to Cal. Cal is sitting at an over/under win total of 5.5. The over is the favorite at -120. The under at +100. I'll be honest, gentlemen. I don't feel like Justin Wilcox is a bad coach. I don't love anything Cal has going on. You lose your quarterback, you bring in Devin Brown, who didn't see a whole lot of time at Ohio State. You have 12 transfers looking like they're probably going to start with the 38th ranked transfer class. Not a good recipe if you got 12 transfers starting. I don't feel good about this team at all. I'm going to go ahead and throw mine out there. I'm comfortably on the under. I only have them surefire 3 wins, and the rest, I could see them losing the rest of the way. Don't have much to say. Somebody else can take it from here if you got positive thoughts or negative thoughts on Cal.
I agree. Not to mention they've got some big games they got to travel to. Like I think they're going over to Boston, and then they got I think Virginia Tech as well. I mean, you don't want to go play at Virginia Tech. You definitely don't want to travel 3 time zones and go play Virginia Tech. I'm with you, Colin. I think the traveling, like yes, it's only three long drives. I think the rest of their drives are like what is it, San Diego State, Stanford,
Oregon State. I mean, all fairly close, but
they're fairly close. But still, those 3 games, they will take a lot out of you.
well, and they're not good enough to go comfortably say they're going to travel that far and go get a win. Like
No,
on their travel situation out to those games, they don't feel good going into those games, and they're not good enough to protect home field with some of these better teams coming in. So this is comfortable for me.
On the under, losing your quarterback this late, it's a killer.
Bryant, what do you got on
I
this?
got them actually going over just barely. I also think this is one of the easier schedules in the conference. I mean, Texas Southern at home is a win. Minnesota playing Cal, that just seems like a loss for Minnesota. I know they've struggled that the past few years, and then traveling to the West Coast that early in the season. I actually have them sneaking out one with Duke. That's a game I think is a toss-up. I would probably favor Duke when we talk about it, but I picked them one toss-up. Virginia, I just don't think it's going to be very good, so I gave them that one. There's 4. Oregon State, I mean, they're back to where they were 5 years ago, in my opinion. So I think that's probably a win. So, I mean, all they got to do is get a game over against Stanford or San Diego State. I think they lose the other 3, and then we're at the over. So this is a tough team. All the losses can be detrimental, but they did bring in a great offensive coordinator in Brian Harsin. He was the coach at Boise State for a long time, and those teams were always very, very, very well-oiled machine on offense. So I think that will help them. I got them over, but barely.
Didn't Brian Harsin coach at Auburn for a couple years?
He was an assistant. Yes, he was actually there when Drinkwitz was there too.
I just don't. I'm not trying to talk you out of this. I love it that we have that differences, but I just don't think that Minnesota's that bad. Like I think Minnesota can handle them.
Oh, I think they could.
Pretty easily. And I
it
think
just seems
Duke's
like
really
a game they might overlook.
And I like that we're talking about Duke a little bit because we're going to transition right into Duke right here. So, Duke they're over under sitting at 6.5, heavily favored to do the over at -160, the under at +135. I'm going to go ahead and tell you this right now. I think Duke has potential to be really, really good. I mean, they had 9 wins last season. I think Manny Diaz is the real deal as a coach. I mean, he's proven that he can win. They're returning a shit ton of starters. It's like 17 starters they're returning. And I'll be honest, I think Darian Mensah coming in from Tulane, I think might even be an upgrade. So now I don't think he might be an upgrade. I think he is an upgrade at the quarterback position. They have a really good defense. I am comfortably on the over 6.5 on Duke. Like this is probably my favorite one in the whole ACC. I have them firing against Elon, NC State, Syracuse, Cal, UConn, Virginia, Wake. I have them beating Tulane. I mean, they just took their quarterback. I have a swing game against Georgia Tech that I think they win, and I only have them with 2 sure losses against Illinois and Clemson. Like I am very comfortable on the over 6.5. I would feel comfortable over 7.5 on Duke.
I agree. I think, and this obviously this is me being a Duke fan, just getting too comfortable.
Oh, here comes the biased opinion.
I think they go 9-3. I agree. I think they lose to Clemson, Illinois. I think that's not to be that guy, but that's a for sure. And I think Syracuse could go either way. I think Syracuse could go either way, and I think maybe Georgia Tech could go either way. But I think they can handle Georgia Tech. But then I think they beat UNC. I think they beat Tulane. I think NC State they beat. And then Elon Cal, UConn, Virginia, Wake Forest. I think those are all games that they should win comfortably. But I don't think it's unreasonable for me to say they go 9-3. Like and I'm really trying to not be like biased here. But like I said, Clemson and Illinois, yeah, they lose.
This is an easy schedule.
Yeah, that's not a bad schedule.
Man, I'm with you. I'll back you up. I'll put it in stamp right now. I have them at least going 9-3 as well. I don't think you're far fetched at all. I'm anxious to see if Nolan and Brian are anywhere near close to that, but I'm comfortable at 9-3.
I'll hop in here. I think this is an easy lock at the over. I have the only loss at home to Illinois. I think it's going to be a pretty good team. I think they're going to win that swing game there that we all talked about against Georgia Tech. I do have that kind of swing loss to Cal that could go up in the air either way. That's just how I looked at it. So that could be a ninth win, but I had them losing to UNC on the road in Clemson. So this schedule is not bad. Manny Diaz is a pretty good coach, and I agree with you, Colin. Darian Mensah could be one of the better quarterbacks in this conference, plus all the returners. This just seems easy, which always tends to bite you in the ass when it comes to sports betting. So, but I'm gonna roll with it. I think this is a lock in the over too. So.
I agree with you guys. I got the over. I'm not as high. I'm not talking the 9-3 record. I'm thinking more like 7-8 wins, but I'm taking the over. Even at that 7, I think it's a relatively easy 7 wins, and that's giving the opponent all the swing games you guys are talking about then.
Yeah,
I could see this game. This is going to be over 7.5 within a month.
and honestly, I'm comfortable. I'm the one that's going to wait till it gets to 7.5. That way, I get a little bit better payout on this, and then go lock in 7.5. And if there's an alt line out there for wins, I might even tease this thing up to 8.5. Just on the true case that I think they really can go do it. Like they're returning so many starters. They showed so much signs of life last year that Manny Diaz has this thing going in the right direction. No, Dave Cooper Flag does not play for Duke's football team, but I do think that they are one of the better teams in the ACC when you really break this down. And I think the schedule plays right into this. I mean, their hardest game on the road is, yes, Clemson. After that, we're talking probably UNC, and that's if UNC late in November's got things going in the right direction. I mean, by that time, the UNC, the wheels could be all the way off, and they go in and they absolutely steamroll UNC on a rivalry game. So, this is the first time all 4 of us have agreed on one. That tells anybody out there listening,
Take the under.
if you want to go, yeah, you're probably right. But if you want to go get it right now, now's the time. Comfortable 6.5. Moving on to Georgia Tech. We've had a lot of Georgia Tech conversation in this so far. Anytime they come up on a schedule, feels like it's a swing game. But Georgia Tech sitting at over under 7.5. The over is the favorite at -150. The under is the dog at +125. The big reason I like Georgia Tech, I think Brent Key is a great coach. Haynes King is back at the quarterback position. Jamal Haynes is a great sidekick for him at the running back position, returning tons of production. 7 wins last season. The only thing that scares me is I think they lost their best player in Eric Singleton. That's a big, big loss for them. He was one of the top-ranked players in the portal. So this is a really interesting one for me. Nolan, you're kind of the ACC guy. What are you feeling with Georgia Tech?
I had a hard time with this one. With the season that Haynes King had last year, you just want to believe in him. But at the same time, can he do the same thing and just carry an entire team on his back week after week after week? Hurt shoulder, doesn't matter, still carrying 3 guys 5 yards down the field for a touchdown, just willing the team to win. I can't see the exact same thing happening this year. I gotta go under, but it's not. If you're really talking how many wins I see 7 wins. And then you got a couple swing games. I'm talking Colorado. What do they look like without Travis Hunter, Shador Sanders? Everybody wants to go play for Dion. He brought in a bunch of transfers again this year. They've already proved that they can handle all the transfers, this and that. So I would almost rather go Colorado than I would Georgia Tech. Brian, you look like you got a disagreement there.
I think Colorado's going to be ass. personally. They barely won. They barely won 7 games with Shador and Travis Hunter and all those guys. So they got worse. Their coach is all he worries about is the cameras on him. I get this as a talk for another game, but I think Georgia Tech wins that game. I like Georgia Tech. I like Haynes King, Jamal Haynes. They got the Haynes brothers back there in the backfield, even though they're not brothers. That's going to be a good offense. They returned 3 all ACC players on the defensive side of the ball. Yes, Colin, the Eric Singleton loss is a big one, but I think they can overcome it. This team's going to run the football, and they're going to run it very effectively, in my opinion. And this, I think, is also a relatively favorable schedule. I actually have them beating Clemson, so I get that's probably a shock, but it's early season game. I feel like Clemson always starts slow, and Georgia Tech always starts on fire. So you never know. That's a swing game. You got to throw in some odd wins in here too. So the only loss I have them at home is Syracuse. I feel like they have a relatively easy home schedule, and then I have them losing to Duke and Boston College, and then Georgia in rivalry week. So I got them at 8 wins, which is barely at the over. I feel comfortable with that.
I feel like Georgia Tech is an underrated hard place to play too. Nobody
Absolutely.
wants to go play at Georgia Tech. You would rather play Georgia Tech at your place. You don't really want to go there and play.
And I got a
Well,
question
and
real quick. Was the Georgia game always neutral?
yeah,
Or is that a first thing this year? Because they played them at Georgia last year, right?
I feel like that game was in Atlanta last year too, wasn't it?
I feel like it was in Atlanta.
No, the game last year was in Georgia.
Well, okay. I mean, this might be the first year they're doing a neutral site then.
I wonder where they're
Which
playing that game at.
I
Oh,
would
look.
assume
I just always
Mercedes-Benz.
I always felt like that was a home and home type thing.
I mean, if I had to take a dart and throw it, I'm throwing it at the Mercedes-Benz Dome, whatever you want to call it, just because they're both in state. It doesn't really matter, I don't think, where they play. You're going to see
No.
a whole lot more red than
Yeah,
yellow, gold.
it's at Mercedes Benz this year.
Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't matter for me on that one. I think
No.
last year that game was kind of a fluke, but I love the Clemson take. I really do, and I love what Nolan said about it. Clemson does not want to go play Georgia Tech early on. The place is going to be packed. All the fans are still going to be 100% bought in to Georgia Tech at that point. And if they do beat Colorado, and then they do beat Gardner-Webb, which is a layup, and at that point they're 2-0. The place is loud. The place is popping. Clemson's in town. I don't hate that take at all, Bryant. I will tell you, I am on the over. It is by about a half a game to a game. I have them coming in at 8.5 wins because I got a couple swing games. Colorado is a swing game for me, but I do have them losing that one. I don't think you really want to go play at Colorado necessarily either. I am one of the few people out there that are going to talk about this a little bit when we talk about Colorado more. I think there's actually a case where Colorado is better without Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter. And it's only because that team only used Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter that I think once he's no longer trying to get his son and his son's best friend or whatever he was to them in the conversation of the Heisman all the time, I think the ball gets distributed evenly a whole lot more where I think they could be actually a better football team. Now, with that being said, to focus back on Georgia Tech, like I said, I have them coming in at 8.5 wins. I do have them losing to Clemson. I do have them losing to Duke. And the rest of the way, I have them comfortably winning or could truly be a swing game. So I'm right in that 8.5 range pretty comfortably. Don't think I would take it at minus 150 on the 7.5 just because I don't like that payout with the 7.5 with the risk. So I'm right in that range. I think this is pretty close to where it needs to be. Dave, what you got?
Man, I just Haynes King was a pimp last year.
Yeah, dude, he is. I mean, the guy is a pimp.
I just love the Georgia Tech environment. Never even been to the state of Georgia myself, but I think they're going to go over, man. I really do. I think they're going to show up, and I think Haynes King is just going to carry the team on his back. Like
so this is solely a vibes pick on the over for you. This is everything good.
Just a vibe pick. That's it.
And I don't hate it. So what'd we go on this? We went 3 for the over and 1 for the under on Georgia Tech.
Yep.
And no one sounded like he could be a little persuaded on the over at Georgia Tech. So we're right in there.
It depends how much you believe in Haynes King and his will to just win, man. Is he a dog again this year?
I mean, I think he definitely can be if he stays healthy.
If he's not, they win like 4 games.
And dude,
Yeah.
I think Jamal Haynes is one of the better running backs in this conference too, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
So
I think that just it scares me. They're pretty one dimensional on offense.
yeah,
I mean, with all Haynes likes to run it. Jamal Haynes does run it. I mean, they're pretty one dimensional. Brent Key was an offensive lineman back in the day. Like he feels comfortable running the football. So I mean, it could really go down in flames. I mean, they are very. If one guy gets hurt, they're in some deep shit.
If they have a
Moving on
good
to
season, you could see Brent Key maybe move on here before too long. Two
so
good seasons in a row at a Georgia Tech.
would you if you're Brent Key, I'm pretty sure I'm like 99% sure he was an offensive lineman at Georgia Tech. Would you leave your alma mater?
It depends what job you're offered. If you're offered, say, an offensive coordinator position at one of the big schools, maybe not. If you're offered, say, a head coach job at one of the mid kind of tier schools, I'd probably leave.
Georgia Tech's a hard place to win at every year.
Mhm.
I mean, he's doing really good things. Let's not, like to your point, let's not forget what he's doing for Georgia Tech. So, yeah, I think it'd be a tough decision for him. I think he feels comfortable there. I don't think he can do any wrong there, especially at this
Yep.
point. So that would have to come into play a little bit too. And Bryant and Dave, you guys know from last year's episode, I'm always down to talk on an episode hot takes or coaching changes. And I'm still on the same couple that I was last year that I think comes to
we need to
fruition this year.
we need to
Uh,
have a hot seat show.
Oh, we're gonna have a hot seat, hot take show. Don't you worry about that. We got time for those. Moving on to Louisville, we have them sitting at through DraftKings over under 8.5. The over is the favorite at -130. The under sitting at +110. 8 wins last season. Jeff Brown, we've said it on this show. We think is one of the most underrated coaches in college football. He wins everywhere he's at. I would feel comfortable with him on any single team in the country. Got a couple good receivers back again with Chris Bell, Colin Lacey. Antonio Watts is a monster at the linebacker position. Somebody take this one away. Where do you guys feel comfortable at on the over under 8.5 win total for Louisville?
I'll roll with this here first. I got them at over. I actually have them winning 10 games. I really like Louisville. I'm not as confident at that 10, but I just look at the schedule and let me know what you guys think. But I think this is relatively easy as well compared to some of the other schedules. They also only have 4 away games, their hardest being at Miami. I actually have them winning that game. I have them losing at SMU is the only game I have them losing on the road. I think SMU is going to be pretty good. It's probably just as good as they were last year. At home, the only game I have them losing is Clemson. Um, Kentucky, I think Mark Stoops is probably going to be gone by the end of this season. And then they got 3 pretty easy games in Eastern Kentucky, Bowling Green, and James Madison. James Madison might be a tougher of those 3, but I still think they win that. And then they got Virginia, Boston College, and Cal. I think those are winnable games for them as well. Jeff Brom is a great coach. I think Miller Moss is going to thrive in his offense. I mean, he just got Tyler Shuck into the NFL at 25, 6 years old, drafted third quarterback in the draft. So if he can do it with him, I think he can do it with Miller Moss. So I'm going to go with over at 10. Um, Not quite as confident in that as I probably should be, but that's where I'm at.
Hey, I don't hate it. Dave, you got to get to your kids. So, real quick before you leave us, we only got a couple teams left anyway. Give us your take on Louisville over under 8.5, real quick, before you hop off here.
Oh, I'm going the over for sure. I think not that Louisville's going to be amazing, but just simply the fact that their schedule isn't that bad. I think they drop Miami. I think they drop Clemson, and then I think Virginia Tech is a toss up. And SMU might be a toss up too, but I'm confident that Louisville can make it happen. With Miller Moss at the quarterback position. I'm not saying um, he's going to be the next Cam Ward, but I think he can handle his own. And again, I don't think this schedule is that difficult. So I think it's simply Louisville. I'm gonna take the over just simply on the fact that their schedule is not that bad.
Yeah, I
It,
don't hate that.
it's the ACC. So this year the ACC is there's like the top and then there's the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't hate that at all. So, hey, good luck with the kids, brother. We'll see you back on next week's show. We'll be doing a part 2. Nolan, where you at with Louisville? 8.5.
I'm on the over as well. The only ones I see him losing is Clemson, Miami. Give a toss-up game to SMU, depending on what you feel like this year. But I think that's the only 3 they're going to lose. I do I'm a little cautious on Miller Moss. I know you guys are big fans, but he just came from USC. Lincoln Riley is arguably one of the better offensive minds in college football, and he did not have a great season in that offense. So I can't say I'm super confident in him. I think the win total is going to ride or die on him and him alone. If he has a average to above average season, give him 9, 10 wins. If he's slightly below average, you got to put him down at 6, 7.
You're muted,
You're
Colin.
on mute, Colin.
Oh, hey, I got the mute button, got me. I'm with you on the Miller Moss thing, and real quick on that, if you're Miller Moss, could you ever want to play like I'm sure you could, but like two coaches that you get to play for is Lincoln Riley and Jeff Brom. Like when you're a quarterback, it's hard to get better than those two in your career at college to go play for. With that being said, I have Louisville at 7 sure wins. Eastern Kentucky, JMU, Bowling Green, Pitt, Virginia, Boston College, Cal. 7 surefire wins, no questions asked. I'm sure you hear that and you're like, okay, he's going the over. I'm going to be honest, I'm taking the under. And it sounds crazy for me. I love Jeff Brom. I think he's one of the best coaches in the country. I think they lose to Miami. I think they lose to Virginia Tech. That's a tough road game. I'm imagining I'm taking the under in the sense that I think the Virginia Tech game will be a night game. And we all know how crazy Virginia Tech is at night. That place is popping. Nobody wants to play there. I think they lose that game. I think they for sure lose the Clemson game. I have 2 swing games with SMU and Kentucky. I think they split it. I think they win one. I think they lose one. Probably give the nod to beating Kentucky and going to give them the nod to losing to SMU. That has them checking in for me right at 8-4. Don't love this one either way, to be honest with you. I could see Louisville winning 9 games. I could see Louisville winning 7, 8 games. I think this line is dead nuts right where it needs to be. I went over this team right here in these games with Louisville more than I went over any other team in the ACC today. And every time I came up right at 8-4. I don't
I
think
just
the
think
schedule is hard, but some of the teams that they do play are pretty tough. Like the 4 or 5 games that they have that aren't surefires are kind of a tough draw.
I feel like this team could easily start 5-0. I mean, you got Kentucky, JMU, then you got Bowling Green, Pitt, and Virginia.
Oh, I have them
Those are,
5-0 to start.
those are 5 of those easy games, and if they get on a roll and get some confidence, I think that only helps them to get 3 or 4 more wins.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I really am. That's why I started off with I think they have 7 surefire wins. Like I am confident in those 7 wins without a
Yeah,
doubt. Know
and
they
then they
get
got
to
a
7 wins.
then they got a bye week to prepare for Miami. That can only be helpful. So I just have a lot of confidence in that team. I think your guys are right with Miller Moss. I think the confidence in him is all in the potential rather than the product we saw at USC. So you know that go. You can pretty much go either way. So time will tell. But if any coach can get him to play the best, I think it's Jeff Brom.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I don't want to bet the under. That's why you'll never see me bet the under on this. That's just kind of the direction I lean, and I kind of came to that same 8-4 record over and over and over again. And I tried getting Jeff Brom so I could take the over for Jeff Brom, but I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. Moving on, we have 2 teams left on this episode for our ACC win totals. We're gonna bounce it right here with NC State over under 6.5. The overs at plus 125. The unders minus 150. Heavy favorite, fellas. This is really not that good of a football team. I mean, they had 6 wins last season. They got C.J. Bailey at quarterback. He's not a bad quarterback at all. I don't love the weapons he has, especially after you lose Kevin Concepcion. KC Concepcion was the best player on this team last year. Wasn't close. He's out the door. He's moved on. He wants to go win. I used to be really big on Dave Dorn. I used to think Dave Dorn was one of the better coaches to maximize effort out of his players and teams. Not that I'm completely off that train. I've lost a lot of confidence in him getting the most out of his players, though. I don't love this team at all. Bryant, Nolan, where are you guys at with NC State?
I go. You want me to go, Nolan? I got NC State under at 6. I think this is one of the hardest schedules. This is the hardest schedule we've talked about so far. I mean, you got away games at Duke, Notre Dame, and Miami. I gave them all losses. You got home games against Georgia Tech, UNC, and I think they lose to Florida State. Um, so I got them at 6 wins. Maybe it could be even less. Virginia Tech's probably a tough game as well. So this team's going to be, I think, struggle a little bit, especially off the bat. So I got them at 6 wins, and I could be persuaded into 5. But heavy public on the under here too, so that you never know how that could go.
The under as well, and I think I can persuade you with that fifth. That October 25th game against Pitt. If you're not looking at a good record, do you really want to go up to cold Pittsburgh and play a team that's just going to run it down your throat play after play after play? I sure don't. That stuff hurts. So, I mean, they could quit at that point. Say, yeah, get me off the field. I'll take a loss. I don't care. That could get you to 5 real quick. I got the under if I didn't say that.
Hey, Brian, I'm going to persuade you to 5 wins as well. I'm comfortably on the under in this one. Not a good football team. I think they beat East Carolina. I think they beat Virginia. I think they beat Wake Forest. I think they beat Campbell. Maybe not win a game the rest of the way. I'm comfortable against losing against Duke. I think they lose to Virginia Tech. They lose to Notre Dame. They lose to Georgia Tech. They lose to Miami. They lose to Florida State. This is not a good football team to me.
Tough schedule, man.
It is a tough schedule, and that kind of goes hand in hand with not being a good football team. And for them to hit the over on this, CJ Bailey's gonna have to play out of his mind. Like
Yeah.
they're gonna have to have a CJ Bailey campaign where he's like the third or fourth, if not better, quarterback in the ACC conference. Like that, it solely relies on him, and I don't love that. He hasn't shown me enough throughout his career, and I know the gap in your third year, like the leap you can take, is huge, and that's where you usually see a lot of guys really progress. But he's just got nothing around him. He's got nothing around him that makes me think that he's going to get it done. And I'm not sold on that defense. That defense is really not all that great. I know they're returning quite a bit of production. So that does kind of make you take a step back. And some of these swing games, could they win them? Comfortably under 6.5 here. It sounds like I know no one has persuaded me to 5, even though I was already on 5. Bryant doesn't have a choice at this point. I feel like you're down to 5 now, too.
Yeah, I think they lose a Pitt now, so 5 wins.
There you go. I
What's
do have to
crazy
ask, how do you guys feel about the NC State UNC game to end the season? Remind me what you guys' projection was for North Carolina. Bryant, you were over, right?
Yeah, I had North Carolina winning that game, and I think it's probably very comfortably. I think Notre Dame. I think UNC is going to be rolling at that time.
I actually had NC State getting that one. That was like one of the
Okay.
only surprise moment games that I had for NC State, kind of going out on a high a little bit. Talked about it a little bit earlier. You get late in the season with UNC. How does it look for them? What are they looking like? Is this a game where NC State gets up right at the end to kind of go out on a high? I know I had the over on UNC, but I talked about it. That was one of the games I had them dropping. So I do think NC State gets that one. I just think that they have more to play for in that one than they do most of the other games. That's the only reason I gave them that. That game is at home, so only reason I gave them that one. And that was a swing game on my list for me. I just kind of kicked that one to him because otherwise I had him at like 3-4 wins. So trying to get it a little bit closer to where I needed to be. Last but not least in this episode is the Florida State Seminoles. Their over under win total is sitting at 6.5. The over is the favorite at -130. The under is sitting at +110. Nolan, we could go into a lot of detail here about this Florida State team. 2 wins last season. Mike Norvell is there. How do you feel about him? I think they do have some really good players still on this team. I think KJ Kirkland's a really good safety. I think Roydell Williams is a pretty good running back. We're sitting here talking about, though, a lot of the guys he lost, too. You lose Patrick Payton, Marvin Jones Jr., Thomas Castellanos comes in as your quarterback. I think you could sit here all day and talk about, is that better than DJ? Is that better than Croman Yoke? I mean, what you could put those all in a vacuum and they all come out the same, in my opinion. You do gain Deuce Robinson, you do gain Squirrel White, you do gain Dante McCray on the defense side of the ball. Is it enough to overcome the 6.5 win total, though, in your opinion, Nolan?
I don't think so. It hurts the more I look at the schedule. I think it's going to be a good season for Florida State is going to be a 6-6 season this year. The number one goal for Mike Norvell should be we got to make a bowl game this year. If you don't make a bowl game and you are out of contention for making a bowl game by the Florida game, because Florida is always last game of the season, you might see an interim head coach for the Florida State game this year. It's gonna be tough. A good season would be 6-6, and I think that Alabama game to start the season is one of the more important Florida State games in the last 10, 15 years. If you can, you don't have to win, but if you keep it competitive against Alabama, you keep a very large, very opinionated fan base in on the season. If you lose and you get blown out, people are going to be calling for Mike Norvell's job quick.
Brian, I'm anxious to hear what you have to say about this.
Boys, come on now. Florida State team. I'm gonna go. I was playing the war chant. I guess it didn't pick it up on the mic, but I was
No,
playing.
I
The,
didn't hear it.
Even hear it.
I don't know
I was
why
trying
that
to
wasn't
figure out what
playing,
you were
but I
gonna
was
throw
playing
at
it.
me. I was like,
Dude, I'm
Lord.
gonna have a hot streak here, or a hot take here. I got them winning 8 games. I think this
Hey,
is a do or die season for
stop right
them.
there. I have them winning 8 games, Brian. Let's hear what 8 games you got them
Wow.
winning.
Okay.
This is a do or die season. That team we saw last year was not Florida State. Mike Norvell, I think, is a very good coach. So I'm going to roll with him bouncing back. They got some good guys on. Deuce Robinson's a good stud on offense. Colin, the guys you mentioned are just as big of incoming players as well. Besides a few games, I think their schedule is manageable. At home, I think they lose to Bama, Miami, and Virginia Tech. But I think they win the next of those 4 games. Kent State, Pitt, Wake Forest, and whatever East Texas A&M is now. Nolan mentioned they changed their college name or to wherever. I don't know what that is now. Nolan, did you look that up?
I'll have to look it up, but yeah, it's even more obscure now.
And then
Listen,
away,
let's just say this: if you lose to East Texas A&M or whoever it is, or it's close, pack it up. Florida State's hanging the season up, so we don't even need their team name.
yeah. Away, I got them beating Virginia and Stanford, who I don't think are going to be very good, as well as NC State. And then boys, I think I got the season-defining win against Florida on rivalry week. Florida State's back. Mike Norvell is solidly back, the coach at Florida State. I got them upsetting Florida the day after Thanksgiving.
We are close. We are really, really close, Brian. I have them winning 8 games as well. East Texas A&M or whoever they are, Kent State, Virginia, Pitt, Stanford, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, and NC State. I do think they lose the 4 big games on their schedule, though. I can't overcome those 4 teams because I think Bama is better. I think Miami's better. I think Clemson's better, and I do think Florida's better. I mean, DJ Lagway is leaps and bounds better than Thomas Castellanos. So that is my only hangup for Florida State is the quarterback position. I think they can piece the rest together enough to manage this schedule. I just don't think they have enough to manage those 4 games. I don't think they hold up against Miami. I think Miami gets home often in that football game. I think Castellanos is under tons of pressure. I think he's running for his life in that football game. I think Bama gets home on them often. I don't know if Florida State can slow the offensive down for Alabama either. I think Clemson has their way. Clemson's front seven is just as lethal as anybody in the country as well. Don't think Florida State has the answers for them. And I just think Florida's the better football team. I do think Mike Norvell is a better coach than Billy Napier at Florida, but I do think that game, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that game is at the Swamp. That also is kind of why I lean that direction fairly easily for me, to be honest with you.
Those are for
And
fun pick.
I get it, but I still do have them with you, Bryant, coming in at 8 wins. I think honestly, Nolan, I get it when you're a fan of a team and you're really down on them. Hell, I'm that way with Mizzou often. Bryant's got to talk me off a ledge often, but I mean that 6.5 is almost a slap in the face. I know you only had 2 wins last season, but damn, man, I can't see Florida State doing it 2 years in a row. And I know they had some bad years, in the last 10, 15 years, a couple in a row there, but I think this team's got enough. It could go down in flames, though. I'll be the first to say that too. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
could rinse repeat. I mean, it really, really could. Once again, the quarterback position is the only thing that scares me.
I think as at Florida State, you can never have a 2-10 season ever again. You got
No,
something
never.
like
Really
that,
not.
you got to be run out of town almost if you do it if you do it twice in a row. Your floor at Florida State should be 4, 5 wins at the very least.
Oh, I think
You got
6.
to be able to pull out 4 or 5, even
If you're
with.
Florida State in the ACC, Nolan, and you're not making bowl games, that's bad.
Listen, I understand. I understand, and I'm down on the ACC this year. Ask Bryant. We've gotten into arguments when the ACC was actually decent about the Florida State versus SEC stuff, ACC versus SEC stuff, and it was pretty heated. But this is not one of those years.
Well, you guys called me last year over an ACC argument. It was hilarious. I was having the time of my life on that phone call with listening to you two go at it. It was fantastic. But
Yep. I got a question for Nolan real quick.
yeah, go ahead.
Is there any competition at quarterback with Castellanos, or is he the starter?
He is the starter. He's got to be. You bring him in specifically for that reason, and unless you have a guy that is Cam Newton, you're big, tall, you're fast. This is your second best option in a Gus Malzahn offense. The only
Yeah.
problem is I don't know how much UCF you guys watched last year, and I don't know if it was KJ Jefferson or if it was Gus Malzahn, but it did not look like a good Gus Malzahn offense. Is he losing it or was it KJ Jefferson?
That's
I'd
KJ
take
Jefferson,
I'd take Castellanos over Jefferson all
without a
day.
doubt. KJ Jefferson had a wet noodle last year, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm taking you back at the quarterback prime days of you knowing over KJ Jefferson. I mean, it was horrendous to watch because
Dude,
UCF had expectations.
I
Yeah.
have a good buddy that's a huge Arkansas fan, and he actually knows people. I'm gonna dig on KJ Jefferson a little bit. He actually knows people that were at Arkansas, and that dude is like he is not smart at all, man. So there's other reasons besides on the field why he was not good at football. He had no idea how to read a defense, and
Well,
he did not study film. He couldn't read a scouting report or nothing.
and then when you come in and you got to learn a new offense in
Yeah,
less than a season. I mean,
he's cooked from the start.
you were upside down before you ever started. So yeah, I'm I think you could be a little bit more optimistic about Florida State's season, Nolan. But I'll agree with you. I'm going to
You're
disagree
gonna
and then
have to
agree,
prove it to me this year.
and I get that. I think Norvell's a good coach, but yes, with the resources, you can't miss a bowl game this season, or you're done. You are out. You're out the door. I mean, Florida State goes into it last year, and they want more money than the other programs in the ACC. You know, they're one of the programs that's wanting to leave the ACC. Piss poor showing. So you got to bounce back, and I think they know they have to bounce back. Also, that comes with lots of pressure. There is probably nobody with more pressure in college football maybe than Mike Norvell right now. So and I think that scares him a little bit, but maybe they play for their coach. That's one of the. I mean, you can go either way on that.
What gives me a
Gotta
little
hope
bit
so.
of what gives me a little bit of optimism here is this is my last point with them is we've seen Florida State with Jordan Travis, the quarterback, thrive in having a quarterback that isn't necessarily a pocket passer. Jordan Travis was a get out of the pocket. He was quick and athletic, and that's exactly what Castellanos is. Jordan Travis is a way better quarterback and better passer, but I think we can both say that Castellanos is just as athletic as he was. So if he can get any sort of play like that out of Castellanos, like he did out of Travis, I think we can get to the 8 wins that Colin and myself have him at. So I think Castellanos is the big pendulum here on their season, in my opinion.
He has to get out of the pocket though. He's small. He's like
Yeah, he's
5'10",
small.
5'11". I mean, he's got to get out of the pocket.
To your point about Florida State maybe not being able to block, especially Clemson, Miami, teams like that. I mean, that's the guy you want in there. You don't,
Absolutely.
as much as I liked Cromenhoek, he's not near as mobile as Castellanos is. If you're gonna not block or just not be able to block, whatever you want to call it, you got to have somebody that's fast, can get out of there. I mean, he did it to Florida State multiple times when we played BC. It was no fun watching him run around on a Florida State defense that was actually good those years.
Well, to your point, he's used to an offensive line getting blown up. Like he's
Yeah.
used to having to go make a play himself. So it kind of works out. I mean, I'm anxious to see how this works out. They're one of the not exciting would be the wrong word, but like they're one of the most anticipated teams for me to go watch this season to kind of see how it really shakes out, and looking really forward to that. So, kind of what we have on tap on our next episode is we're going to wrap up the rest of the ACC. You know, we'll have SMU, Stanford, Syracuse, Pitt, Clemson, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, and Notre Dame. Those will be the teams on our next episodes. So make sure you tune in and see how we wrap up the ACC. This was just part one. This was a great episode. We gave some really great analysis on what we thought going on here. And hey, if you want to follow with us, if you don't want to follow with us, I get it. Fade us, go with us, whatever. If you followed us last year, you made money. So what we'll kind of do at the very end of all these conferences too is we'll have an episode where we go back and we break down and do what we call our best bets for the over under win totals. That'll be jumbled up with ACC, Big 10, Big 12, SEC. We'll take them all and we'll put them on one docket and we'll bring them to you guys with our best bets. So if you like any of these right now, go out and get them while the getting is good. But hey, fellas, this was tons of fun. That's Nolan. That's Bryant. I'm Colin. And we had Dave earlier. Had to go chase the kids around. Until next time, fellas, peace.